Hey guys, welcome to the third guide video for the Forgotten Depths, which is the second section of LFR for Throne of Thunder. The final boss that you'll be facing in this encounter is called Ji-Kun, and this boss is actually pretty difficult, especially for LFR if people are not paying attention. So first, the main thing that you're going to have to be watching out for if you are a tank, you're going to be getting infected talons. Whenever Ji-Kun successfully strikes a player with a melee ability, the victim suffers 15,000 nature damage every 3 seconds for 10 seconds, and this effect stacks. You will also be getting Talon Rake, which Ji-Kun uses her talons to pierce through the armor of her current target. Talon Rake inflicts 175% weapon damage as physical damage and increases the damage received by the victim from future Talon Rakes by 50% for 1 minute. So with Talon Rakes, you need to switch about every 2 stacks. If you have a lot of infected talons on you and you're finding that you're not really able to mitigate the damage any, you can swap sooner. I would definitely communicate with your fellow tank in LFR and kind of figure out what strategy works best for you guys. But from what I've read and from what I've seen from other people, Talon Rake 2 stacks is generally when people swap. For healers, the main thing you're going to want to watch out for is quills. Ji-Kun sends her quills about the entire roost, inflicting 60,000 physical damage to all players every 1 second for 8 seconds. This is going to be fairly wide raid damage, so definitely watch what cooldowns you're using. This is in this video that you're actually watching for this attempt that I did last week for LFR. It actually took us about 3 tries to get the boss down, so you'll notice a couple wipes. And during quills I would use Tranquility, or I would blow the mushrooms that I'm Wrestle Druid, so I use mushrooms, which I usually had planted in the center because that's where the tanks were and that's where most of the melee DPS was. So just kind of plan out your healing cooldown, what you're going to use at one point and what you're going to use at the next quill. There's also another part of this encounter which involves 3 DPS and at least 1 healer going on ad duty. But you'll notice on the main platform that you're standing on where you're going to be fighting the boss, there's a couple other small platforms with little nests on them and eggs. What you do is, it's actually pretty easy. I ended up not doing this, another healer went, but I could kind of see them around the corners doing it, and I've had friends do it. But what you do is, it'll be identified by like a red light and some sort of a smoke, and you go over to that nest. You will not fall. If you fall off the platform, you will not fall. It'll put you back up, so don't be worried about that. And you go over there and you kill all the baby birds inside. After killing the birds, there'll be like a little feather that'll grant a flight ability, which allows the ad group to go to another nest, like if you have to go to one up higher, or back to the platform, depending on what needs to be done at that point. And you need to pay attention to whether it's an upper nest or a lower nest, because they're kind of at different heights. So just kind of be wary of where you're going, and definitely communicate with the other DPS that are involved in this, as well as the healer, so that you all make sure that you go to the right platform when you need to. Another part of this encounter is being about 8 yards apart. If you use something like DBM, it should automatically pop up. Otherwise, just type /range 8. And the reason for this is because of an ability called Caw, where Ji-Kun cries out at 5 random players, sending piercing sound waves at their locations. When the waves reach their destination, they inflict 150,000 physical damage to all targets within 8 yards of the impact. So it's pretty high damage, so just make sure that you're as far apart as you can be, because otherwise your healers might get a little angry. Another thing to watch for is called Feed Young, and it's basically she's vomiting, and you can interrupt this and you'll get a nice buff to healing or damage, and if you don't interrupt it, there's going to be green petals on the ground, which you'll notice in my kill video. So if you think you can interrupt it, do it. I tried a couple times and I just didn't get it, so I just stopped and just kept avoiding them because it was just so much easier to just not try and do that. Just make sure you don't stand in the green puddles when they are actually on the ground, because they do quite a bit of damage, and it's also kind of gross because you're basically standing in throw up. Another thing to watch for is called Downdraft. Ji-Kun flaps her wings violently, pushing all enemies on her platform outward. Downdraft persists for 8 seconds. And you'll notice in the video, I think on the first one, I fell off because I didn't expect it to be that powerful. It's actually pretty strong. So if you have any movement abilities to use, definitely use them. You'll notice on my druid I swap to kitty form, and I use like Savage War so that everybody can run, and I also used like my kitty dash so that I don't fall off. But for like a mage you could use blink or charge or like anything that you have. Definitely use it because it actually it pulls you back pretty hard. If you do fall off, it's okay because it'll end up bringing you back up on the platform, but at least one tank needs to stay, because if both tanks fall off the platform, it's probably going to be a wipe. That is pretty much the Ji-Kun encounter. It definitely has a lot of different things to watch out for, so remember, tanks, swap at 2 stacks of Talon Rake. Healers, watch out for quills, because that's going to be when you're going to need to be using most of your healing cooldowns. Everybody, watch out for downdraft, because it is a pain in the butt to try and stay on the platform if you don't have any really good movement cooldowns. Be sure to stay 8 yards apart with the ability Call. If you can intercept the feeding pools with the Feed Young ability, do it. If you're like me and you just kind of gave up, just don't stand in the green vomit on the ground, because you will take damage. And that is basically the fight. Thanks for watching. Good luck in Throne of Thunder, and may the loot be ever in your favor.
Beware. 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 Beware.